Dr. Jessica Smith cringed as she peered through the microscope. The magnified image before her was a nightmare, a grotesque, alien organism wriggling within the confines of a human blood cell. It was unlike anything she'd ever encountered in her years as a parasitologist. "Dr. Chan," she called out, her voice a hushed whisper in the sterile silence of the lab. "Get me the electron microscope, now." Dr. Chan, her resident, hurried over, his face pale. "What is it, Dr. Smith? Another new strain of malaria?" "Worse," Jessica replied, her gaze fixed on the monstrous creature on the slide. This isn't anything I've ever seen before." The electron microscope revealed the true horror of the organism. It was a bizarre amalgamation of plant and animal, a parasitic monstrosity that seemed to defy the laws of biology. Its outer membrane was a tough, chitinous shell, while its internal structure was a complex network of tendrils and vacuoles. And within those vacuoles, Jessica saw it a rudimentary nervous system, a primitive brain. "It's sentient," she breathed, fear creeping into her voice. "It's thinking." The parasite, which she tentatively named Miritis, was unlike any other known parasite. It didn't simply feed on its host. It controlled it. It manipulated the host's behavior, turning them into unwitting vessels for its own survival and propagation. And it was spreading. The first case had been a young woman, Emily, brought in with bizarre symptoms, hallucinations, violent outbursts, and a strange, almost hypnotic fascination with insects. Jessica had initially dismissed it as a rare neurological disorder, but the discovery of Miritis in Emily's blood had shattered her certainty. Now, more cases were emerging, patients exhibiting similar symptoms: aggression, paranoia, and an inexplicable urge to isolate themselves, were flooding into the hospital. Jessica, haunted by the image of Miritis writhing within the human body, was on the front lines of a silent epidemic, a battle against an unseen enemy that was slowly but surely taking control. Her initial investigations revealed that Miritis was transmitted through insect bites, primarily from infected mosquitoes. But that was just the beginning. As she delved deeper, she uncovered a chilling truth. Miritis was evolving. It was adapting to its new environment, becoming more cunning, more resilient. One of her patients, a young man named David, provided a crucial clue. He had been infected for several weeks and was exhibiting increasingly erratic behavior. During a particularly violent episode, he spoke of a hive mind, of a collective consciousness that was guiding his actions. Jessica realized with a jolt that Miritis wasn't just controlling individuals. It was creating a network, a vast, interconnected consciousness that was slowly but surely taking over the minds of its hosts. The infected were becoming puppets, their thoughts and actions dictated by the alien intelligence of Miritis. Fear began to grip the city. The media, fueled by sensationalist reports, whipped the public into a frenzy. Panic erupted as people barricaded themselves in their homes, terrified of the invisible enemy that lurked in the shadows. The government, overwhelmed by the crisis, struggled to contain the outbreak, implementing draconian measures that further eroded the fragile fabric of society. Jessica, driven by a desperate need to find a solution, worked tirelessly, day and night. She pored over medical journals, consulted with other experts, and conducted exhaustive research on Miritis. But time was running out. The infection was spreading rapidly, threatening to engulf the entire city, and perhaps the world. One evening, while reviewing patient records, Jessica noticed a strange pattern. The most severely infected patients, those completely under Miritis' control, had a common link. They had all been exposed to a specific strain of pesticide. A chilling realization dawned on her. The pesticide, designed to kill insects, had inadvertently strengthened Miritis. It had forced the parasite to evolve, to develop a resistance that had inadvertently made it more potent, more dangerous. Jessica raced to the laboratory, her heart pounding. She needed to test her theory. She infected a culture of Miritis with a diluted sample of the pesticide. To her horror, the parasite not only survived but thrived. It grew stronger, more aggressive, its tendrils multiplying at an alarming rate. She had found the enemy's weakness, but it was a double-edged sword. The pesticide, the very weapon designed to combat the insect vectors of Miritis, had inadvertently fueled its evolution. But Jessica refused to give up. She knew that Miritis, for all its power, was still vulnerable. It was dependent on its hosts, on the human bodies it inhabited. If she could disrupt the communication pathways between Miritis and its host, she might be able to break its control. She focused her efforts on developing a neural inhibitor, a drug that would block the neurotransmitters Miritis used to manipulate the host's brain. It was a long shot, a desperate gamble, but it was their only hope. The clinical trials were fraught with peril. The inhibitor, even in small doses, had severe side effects, pushing some patients to the brink of death. But there were also successes. Some patients, after receiving the inhibitor, began to regain control, their minds slowly freeing themselves from Miritis's grip. News of the breakthrough spread like wildfire, offering a glimmer of hope to a city on the brink of despair. But the battle was far from over. Miritis, sensing the threat, fought back with renewed ferocity. It mutated, adapting to the inhibitor, becoming more resistant, more elusive. Jessica, exhausted but undeterred, continued her research, pushing the boundaries of science, exploring uncharted territories in the hope of finding a definitive cure. She knew that the fate of humanity rested on her shoulders. One day, while analyzing a sample of Miritis from a recently deceased patient, she made a startling discovery. Within the parasite's genetic code, she found a weakness, a vulnerability that could be exploited. It was a flaw, a design flaw, a chink in the parasite's armor. With renewed vigor, Jessica and her team worked tirelessly, developing a new strategy, a weaponized virus designed to target and destroy Miritis at its core. It was a risky proposition, a gamble with the lives of millions hanging in the balance. But it was their last hope. The day of the release arrived. The weaponized virus, carried by specially engineered mosquitoes, was released into the environment. The city held its breath, waiting, hoping. Days turned into weeks, each passing hour filled with agonizing uncertainty. Then, slowly, tentatively, signs of hope began to emerge. The number of new infections began to decline, the grip of Miritis loosening its hold. The city, battered and bruised, began to heal. The streets, once eerily silent, filled with the sounds of life, laughter, music, the murmur of conversation. People emerged from their homes, cautiously at first, then with increasing confidence, reclaiming their lives, their city. Jessica, watching from her hospital window, felt a wave of relief wash over her. The battle was not over, but they had won a crucial victory. Miritis, the monstrous parasite that had threatened to consume them, had been defeated, for now. But she knew, deep down, that this was not the end. Miritis, like any living organism, would find a way to survive. It would adapt, it would evolve. And Jessica, ever vigilant, would be there, ready to face the next challenge, to protect humanity from the ever-present threat of the unknown.